Hazardous Material Enforcement Manual, June 2007. Pipeline Hazardous Material Safety Administration, Pipeline Hazardous Safety Administrations, and the dot Department of Transportation, United States of America, Operation Hazardous Materials Enforcement Operation. Chapter 2, the HM Program Overview. Section 2, Authority. On January 3rd, 1975, the Hazardous Materials Transportation Act of 1974, HMTA, Title 1 of the Public Law 93-363, 633, in Code 49 U.S. Code Law, the Act 1801 and sequence was signed into law. The Act enabled the Secretary of Transportation to draw together previous fragmented regulatory enforcement and authority governing the movement of the hazardous material and the commerce in one consolidated, coordinated body of law. The HMTA significantly amended the Hazardous Material Transportation Uniformly Safety Act of the 1990s, HMTA USA, the Public Law 101-615, signed on November 16, 1990, was an editorial revised codified in 1994 in the 49 USC SNSs and SNSs F101 5101-5127 is a federal hazardous material transportation law, federal hazmat law, while 49 USC 5100 5101 to 5127 provides the primary legislative authority of departments of hazardous material program other than relevantly statutes are the most specific. Among these, 49 USC codes of SS 20101 attend to the sequence, formerly the Railroad Safety Action of 1970, and the 45 USC codes of accession statutes of 4021, etc. ET sequence, and 49 U.S. Code of 40,101 ET sequence, formerly Federal Aviation Act and of 1958 of 49 U.S.C. 1301 attended ET sequence. The marine transportation laws of 33 U.S.C. codes 1221 attended sequence, and 46 of the U.S.C. 370 attended sequence. The Department's Modular Administrator, Federal Aviation Administrator, FAA, the Motor Carrier Safety Administration, the FMCA, the Federal Railroad Administrator, FRA, the responsibility of enforcing actions relating to the transportation, water area, highway, and railway, respective. The United States of the Coast Guard, USCG, became a department of the Highway Homeland Security, but still remains an authority regardless of hazardous material by water mode. The normal of the authorities of the Department regulations of hazardous material transportation, the Federal Water Pollution Control Act amendments of 1972, the Resource and Compensation of Recovery Act of 1976, the Comprehensive Environmental Response to Compensation and Liability of Act of 1980, the Sanitary Food Transportation of Act 1990, and both HTM USA, the Hazardous Material Transportation Authorization Act of 1994, impose of the Department additional responsibility not codified in the Federal Hazardous Law. The laws of influence will continue greatly influence the Hazardous Material Program and PHMS and the Model Administration. The Chapter 49 USC codes of SS 5103. Employers of Secretary of Transportation is to issue and enforce a regulation deemed necessary to ensure the safety of domestic and international movement of hazardous material with a certain extension of related module-specific enforcement and activities, and authority has been delegated and administered in the pipeline Hazardous Material Safety Administration, PHMSA. PHMSA develops and issues and regulation governing hazardous material definition, classification, ship or carry operation, packaging. The container specification is the responsibility also extend enforcement of all regulations other than those applicable to sign a mode with primarily emphasis to enforce those regulations governing the manufacture, reconditioning, requalification, retesting of dot specification, the UN standard packaging, of multi-module shipment of hazardous material. In Section 2, the Hazardous Material Safety Program, the Associate Administrator for HMS is responsible for carrying out the HMS mission. The organizational chart of the HMS is shown in Appendix A of this manual. The HMS is composed of 7 offices: the Office of Hazardous Material Standards, OHMS; the Office of Hazardous Material Technology, OHMT; Office of Hazardous Material Special Permits and Approvals, the OHMS; SPA, Office of Hazardous Material Enforcement, OHME; Office of Hazardous Material Initiative Training, OHMIT; the Office of Material and Planning and Analysis, and OHMPA; Internal Standards Coordinator, OHMISC; Office of His Material Standards, OHMS. The regulation addressing the transportation of material are published under the authority of federal law containing the parts of 149 or Chapter 49 of CFR Parts 100 through 180. OHMS develops rulemaking proposals, interrupts the hazardous material regulations, the HMR amendment, and to the HMR issued to the Part 106 of the rulemaking documents published in the Federal Register in advance notice of proposed rulemaking, the ANPRM. The ANPRM notices and proposed rulemaking of the NPRM and final rules. Official Material Hazards Technology, OHMTs. The OHMT's primary mission to support rulemaking and special permit approval activities of the OHMS and the OHMSPA that supports the enforcement is staffed and engineers and chemicalists to conduct technical reviews and analysis in notice and proposed rulemaking and final rules. Special permits, applications, approval, requests, and response represents departments at the meetings of standard setting scientific technical organization. If you need assistance for technical issuances, contact the OHMT. If required, the OHMT staff may accompany you in a field assignment where advanced technical expertise is required. The Office of Hazardous Materials Special Permits and Approval, OHMSPA. The HMR may lay behind technical innovation, practically in the area of packaging. Personnel who wish to use packaging and process no currently authorized may apply to a special permit. Submitting data information showing the package and process will provide an equal event of great level of safety than required by an HMR. Person may also apply and for the status of a party existing in special permits, OHMS PA process all applications. Person who obtain authority to operate under a special permit are issued a special permit or party status identified in the letters DOT-SB, the filed 4 to 5 digit. All the original documents remaining the OHMSA files special permit holders and parties to the specialty permit and are issued copies. A special permit can be regularity document which will then the person must comply. The HMR must contain a number of regulations requiring the person to perform such an action. Comply the regulations require such person to obtain an approval for example, companies switching the requalifying cylinders under Chapter 49 CFR 180.201 through 180.215 must be approved. Likewise, manufacturer of non-explosive must have explosive examined, classified, and approved. Department OHMSPA is the focus of all approved activities. Office of Hazardous Material Initiatives Training, OHMIT. The OHMIT of the PHMSA, the federal, state, private sector outreach program. The OHMIT, through the sponsor of the state local education, the SAIL program, provides a mechanism for the state enforcement agency, public safety agency, to exchange the information to address the issue in hazardous material transportation and HMR. National module senior local workshops and schedule annual provided free of charge of the OMIT. The OMIT training issue develops hazardous materials training and maintains liaison to the Transportation Safety Institution, the TSI. The Oklahoma City, the OHMIT develops and publishes and disseminates the federal hazardous material transportation safety publications, including the emergency response guide, the safety alerts, electronic and training manuals, OPMA, OHPAM, OHMPA. Opman manages HMS information system program and provides management and guidance onto any on-site contractor responsible for data entry and maintenance of the hazardous material information system. The HMIS investigators may directly access the HMIS through procedures provided by the Supervisory Office of Hazardous Material of International Standards and Coordinator OHMISC. The Associate Administrator of Hazardous Material Safety Competent Authority of Hazardous Material Transportation. Another term in use of place is competitive complemented authority is appropriate authority. The Internal Standard Coordinator represents the Associated Administrator in meetings of the United Nations Committee and the experts of hazardous material transportation other than international forums. The International Standard Coordinator also develops the United States proposal for changes to the international transportation regulations. If the during and respecting the investigator discovers deficiency in HMR regulatory issues not presently covered in HMR, defective and unenforceable special permits or approvals, he or she would prepare the enforcement recommendations, submit it, and along with supporting documentation approval HMS through his or her supervised for signature or director of OHME should be complied. The Section 3 coordinator with DOT module administrator in August 1990. The 5 operator administrator of the DOT, the Department of Transportation, for conducting inspection enforcement programs under the federal hazardous law and coordinated guidelines of hazardous material enforcement, inspection enforcement, the documentation, generally coordinated guidelines and focus of cooperation, sharing information, preserving administration specific responsibility for overseeing the transportation of hazardous material. Copy coordinated guidelines is included in the Section A1 Appendix. Air enforcement of hazardous material regulations, air including the 49 CFR 175 carried in the FAA. The FAA conducts inspections hazardous material shipment on domestic and foreign characters of the USA airport and airport cargo facilities. The agency develops enforcement generally safety regularities in the aircraft manufacture, operation, and maintenance. Water, USCG enforces hazardous material regulations on the water transportation of non-bulk shipments, including Chapter 49 CFR 176. It also regulates bulk shipment of water under the code or under 46 Code Federal Registries. Inspection and conducted in the port areas on the domestic and foreign shipments of barges operated navigable waters navigable waters of the United States. The Rail FRA is responsible for enforcing hazardous material regulations in transportation, including Chapter 49 CFR 174, along with the Railway Safety Regulations, Chapter 49 CFR 209 to 236. Federal official inspection authority and enforcement responsibilities for the entire U.S. railway system and Highway federal have responsibility inspection, shipment, and search state motor characters, enforcement hazardous material regulations pertaining to highway transportation hazardous materials for Chapter 49 CFR 177 are carried out by the FMCA. The FMCA enforces the vehicle driver safety regulations in Code 49 CFR regulations and 399 ITE sequence. In cooperation with the State of the Motor Carrier Safety Association program, the MCASAP, the PHMSA is broadened by the authority to enforce the materials regulations and recognize that no agency is sufficient stated to monitor the hazardous material transportation occurring in the United States and each day. Current estimated suggests that approximately 1.2 million shipments of hazardous material are made in the country every day. Therefore, it is policy to the Director of OHME to leverage resources and cooperation with other DOT models, the federal agency, and states and local authorities, regional supervisions responsible to facilitate inter-module activities.